Hello and welcome. This is EDC with Okan and Kane. I am Okan. Kane cannot be here with us today. And now's a good time to reiterate, although me and Kane are cousins and we do share a living room, we do not live together. So sometimes you will notice videos with just Kane or just myself, and yeah, for the most part, we do like to do our best to schedule things to where we can both be there, but that does not always work out. So, what do we have today? Well, if you haven't noticed, we have the Buck Marksman. Bum da bum bum. Whew. Really like that. And so yeah, let's just go ahead and dig right into things. Start off with some specs on this guy and get into some size comparisons and all the good stuff. So, starting off, we have an overall length of 8.25 inches, a blade length of 3.5 inches, a stock thickness of 0.12 inches, handle thickness at 0.48. So even though it does have this little bit of a thickness here, which we'll get into later, it is still, right there in the average. And then handle length at 4.75 inches. Now weight on Blade HQ was 4.3 ounces. We're going to go ahead and do the weight here. That's 4.19 if you guys can see. Yeah, 4.19. So that's really not too bad at all. A lot of that is attributed to the aluminum scales here. But before we get too much into that, we're going to plop this guy down, bring out some friends, and do some size comparisons. Starting off, because this is not necessarily a big knife, I would definitely kind of say it is a full-size knife, that 3.5 sort of range. But yeah, here it is next to a PM2 and Para 3 sandwich. Here, some kind of random ones. Spyderco Smock, and a Spyderco Southern. This guy doesn't really get a whole lot of camera time, so I figured, might as well bring him out for a size comparison. We've got the Spyderco Delica and Three Rivers Manufacturing Neutron. Both smaller. And we have this one, which to me is a really good comparison, because although these feature two different locks, there are some similarities. Yeah, that is the Cold Steel 8015, AD15. I feel like every time I say it, it sounds like AT15, but whatever. So the 8015 and the Buck Marksman there. And then let's throw in everybody's favorite, CRKT poop knife. Now, one day we will do a full video on this. I don't know why, but we will. But, so yeah, let's get back into this Buck Marksman here. So, let's talk a little bit more about the blade. So this is a nice hollow grind, which I really like seeing at a Buck especially, because they really do a pretty good job with their hollow grinds. And this is a G&G Hawk collaboration with the Boss Heat Treat in 154 cm. So not the powdered version, which is CPM 154, but just good old standard 154 cm, which I've got no problems with. That's a fine steel. It's definitely not the best when you compare it to some of the other things that we've got today, but yeah, really not bad at all. So especially when you have the Paul Boss heat treat on there. Always, always a plus. So this is a stonewash version. Now I know you can get I think it's like a black wash. I don't believe it's coated, but I think it's just kind of a black wash finish with a Tanto style blade. But you know, I'm not a huge fan of Tantos. I do kind of like the drop point a little bit better for most of the uses that I'm going to be using it for. So, all right, and the handle. So this is on bearings. Notice the smoothness of that. Now some of this is going to be kind of hard to get on camera just because of the angle. But yeah, just as soon as that comes up, it is just so smooth, just absolutely frictionless. So they did a really, really, really good job with that. Scales are aluminum that I did mention earlier. So, you know, that's good and bad. I'm not really opposed to aluminum. I think a lot of people do it right, like the Malibu and Benchmade. They do a real good job with the coatings as well, where it has this chalky-like texture, but it gives it a tad bit of texture. And next, the lock on this guy. So it is a G&G collaboration, which is Grant and Gavin Hawk. And so this is the SLS lock, strong lock system. And essentially you have this bar here strapped on top. And when you lift that up, oh, yeah, you can see that perfectly. It releases that tab and it just drops right down. Super, super, super smooth and very, very sturdy. I mean, no blade play at all with this guy. And yeah, really, 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 really do think that is a very interesting lock. But I do have some issues with it, which we'll kind of get into here in just a second. So, next, ergos. Ergos for me are actually really, really nice. So you have a pretty just kind of blank area right there. So, I mean, you don't have any real bad, you know, finger grooves or anything that's kind of forcing your hand in any particular grip. So they did a really good job with that. I do really like it. You obviously have a great spot for your thumb right there. Now, I was kind of worried, you know, with certain grips that you'd really feel this jimping here on the lock. In use, it never really became an issue, even when I was real kind of choked up hard right there on it, and it choked up hard on. But you know, it still didn't really become annoying or obtrusive or really much of a real issue there. So I was a little worried about that, but it ended up not being too shabby. Now, clip, hardware, all of that. Now, of course, they did a great job with the clip. Nice deep carry. Really, really do like it. But the problem is where the clip is landing, which is right on these little ridges here, where the clip itself not necessarily landing on the ridge, it's landing on this little plateau, if you will. But your pocket just really does boop, 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 just really kind of snatch onto that when trying to draw it from the pocket. So, I mean, that to me is a little bit of a downside. And I know that you can find the Buck Marksman Inferno. I believe you can still find those. I'd have to check, but I think SK Blades does a G10 variant. Now, I know that that's going away due to some staffing issues at Buck, I guess. I don't know how to put it. So the person that was in charge of doing some of the exclusive programs, I believe, is no longer with Buck. And so that program has kind of been halted rather than necessarily filling that void. Which I wish they would have just kind of found a way to continue that, because I do think that you do get some great other options. I believe those were S35 VN, but still with the Paul Boss heat treat. So pretty good there. But yeah, like I said, they don't have the Gray Ghost, which was a gray G10 variant, anymore. And then I believe the Inferno, if there's some left, there's probably not many, and you know, when they're gone, they'll be gone. But yes, so this one with the aluminum, I do think that could be improved a little bit as far as the placement of the jimping there, I guess you'd call it, or the ridges there. Could have been done a little bit better. As well is, if you have anything else in the pocket with this guy, you are just running right along that jimping every time you go in and out of the pocket. So that was probably the only thing that actually made carrying it, you know, a little bit annoying, you know, because I am somebody, if you've watched any of our pocket dump videos, I carry a buku amounts of crap in my pockets. And so yeah, it really was a bit of annoying there. And then of course with the clip issue, really wanting to stay in the pocket. So yeah, that was really my two kind of big downsides for the knife, both with carry and honestly with the overall design. But I do have a bit of an improvement that I won't be doing on this model, but we'll probably be doing on one of my own. Now, what does that mean? It's a good time to mention that this was sent in by a great viewer of ours, Snuggle Tummy. If you haven't seen him in the comments, he is you know, often leaving feedback, and like I said, has reached out to be able to send us some great knives to be able to check out and give you guys a chance to check out as well. So let's go ahead and go into design and execution. Now, what do I like about this? USA. So it's made in the USA. It's done from a company, Old Buck, here, who, you know, this isn't their wheelhouse. They really do, you know, kind of shine in the traditional buck 110 kind of market and some of those knives. But not only is it really cool to see a flipper that also is has a little thumb hole here that you can spidey flick or thumb flick. Come on now. Ooh, there we are. Spidey flick or thumb flick, and then I mean, you can even spidey flick it left-handed. So really do think that coming from a company that I wouldn't expect something like this to come from, they did a really good job with it. Because I just have to say, when it comes to any companies kind of stepping outside their sort of wheelhouse, I just wouldn't have expected them to start with such a unique locking system. So I love that they did that. I love that they kind of took that risk, and I think it paid off. Being a USA-made option with a custom collaboration, I just have to say that to me is really, really remarkable for the price. What is the price? So these are, you know, right about $115. I think the stonewash or a black stonewash Tanto version or a Tonto version is a little bit more. I think that one's $114. This one might be closer to $110 actually, but really not a bad price. They are pretty readily available. But yeah, really do like. Once again, I mean, this is sounding a little bit like a broken record, but once again, I love that not only did they try something so kind of unique and a very odd locking system, but they did it really, really, really well. And keeping it in that really affordable price range where this is something that, you know, you can really show to a lot of different people who are maybe just getting into some a little bit higher quality knives, or, you know, just wanting something that's a little bit different in their collection, I think that this is a fantastic option for that. So, what are my final thoughts on this guy here? Well, I would say go for it. But there is a caveat. This jimping on this side, because so here, let's back it up a second. So I think it was intended to be unlocked by pulling the bar up like this, almost how you'd pull back on an axis lock. You kind of pull up on here. I can't really do that. My way of unlocking it was to place a finger here, your pointer finger here, and lift up on the bar like that. Well, for me, being right-handed, I don't need any of this jimping on this side, because that's, you know, that I am predominantly going to be unlocking it right hand, pointer finger right there. So if I probably will end up picking this model up, I am just going to instantly take a Dremel and smooth out some of this jimping. Now obviously you don't want to bring it too far here to potentially weaken the lock at all, but I am just going to smooth that out a little bit more, because it being right side carry, clipped in the pocket, if you smooth that jimping out there, I really do feel like that would thoroughly improve the carry. So with that being said, guys, I would definitely say go for it. I mean, I think it's a really great American-made knife that is, especially once you get used to the locking mechanism there, because it's not super easy. It's not comparable to a lot of other locking mechanisms, so it does take a little bit to get used to. I know Kane kind of struggled manipulating it a little bit kind of right off the bat. And then some other buddies at work and some people that I've shown this to have had a little bit of struggle with this guy here. But once you get used to it, and to me, once you get that finger placement right, where you're really just trying to wedge kind of right in between there, it works out perfectly. But yeah, it might not be for everybody, but I would definitely say this is a great model to check out and pick up. I will be picking one up probably pretty soon, and I probably won't actually do the mod on video, just because that would take a lot of editing to really kind of get that to look right for you guys. If you guys haven't noticed, due to our countless mistakes throughout the video, we don't really do a whole lot of editing at all. And so, yeah, so I will probably show that on our Instagram, or it'll be featured in some kind of video. But yeah, I just think just barely taking some of those off on just this side would thoroughly improve the ergos and carry on this guy. But even as is, jimping's not an issue in use. If you're not somebody that fills your pockets full of stuff, you know, it's not going to be a huge issue getting in and out of the pocket. And then the big thing is, you know, to me, this is not necessarily EDC perfection as much as something that is a great, all right, yeah, I'm taking this to work, I'm taking this, and a little bit more of a purpose-driven kind of knife. Because being at that full-size 3.5-inch blade and having a very strong locking mechanism, it is definitely set up to get work done. That is for sure. So guys, I would certainly say if you got a chance to scoop up the Buck Marksman, or on skblades.com, I believe, you can get the Inferno. That might be already gone by the time this video is premiering, but I would definitely say this guy is definitely worth your time. Give it a check out, and guys, leave a comment in the video below saying thanks to Snuggle Tummy for being able to send this out, let us check this out, and yeah, thanks for stopping by the garage, guys. It's time to go. Have a good one.